All right, what's up, everybody? We are live. I
What's
am
up?
jwinterm. This is Nano over BTC, and we're gonna wait a few minutes here before we get started. I'm gonna do an audio check with the good people of Telegram.
Bitcoin up 3%.
Since 5 minutes ago.
24 hours. I know it's
Cool.
going crazy right now.
It is, yeah. It seems like maybe we'll have all-time high in the next week or so.
Fingers crossed.
It's like 10% away at this point.
Yeah.
We got 3 minutes still.
Yeah.
I was gonna put a comment in the chat. I was gonna sticky it on the subreddit too. I forgot to do that. We had a few people waiting in the oh, now we only have 5 viewers. We had 7 people waiting, and now we only have 5 viewers.
I like this background.
It's like a Adobe AI generated thing. I think chat's turned on. There's just nobody chatting yet. I just canceled my Adobe subscription because they raised the price to $60 a month, and I was like, it's too much.
That's steep.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, I think it's still a good value if you use it professionally. Like, you get Illustrator, Photoshop, Premiere, Express, like you get all of their apps. And the apps are way better than anything else, so it's worth it if you, but I'm not like a graphic designer or anything.
Right.
It's almost 9 o'clock. This is like now when I'm a professor now and it's like waiting to start class. Like, let's see who walks in 1 minute after the hour. We're back up to 7 viewers now.
How big are your classes?
My biggest class is 9 students, and then I have a class with 3, 6, and 6.
Okay.
Generally very small.
Are any of them like labs, or is it just like lecture hall type stuff?
I teach a freshman class every semester, and they have to build a trebuchet. So they work in like the machine shop. Which, speaking of college and labs, I'm gonna put it's 9 o'clock now exactly, so we're getting started. I am jwinterm, John Winter Murphy, here with Nano over BTC.
Hello.
Internet Anon, and I have the music going. I'm gonna turn the music down. Actually, let's just go to a new slide and see how it's working. All right, cool. Video should be working. So yeah, my announcement is we at magicgrants.org, a nonprofit that I'm a part of, have just opened scholarships up for next year, which the due date is not until July. And we give away $2,000 to 3 different undergraduate students who are interested in cryptocurrency. It doesn't matter what your major is, as long as you are interested in cryptocurrency. The whole process should take like 20 or 30 minutes. It's not too bad. I'm gonna put a link in the comments on our cryptocurrency thread. You can check it out if you are interested. And with that, I guess, thank you. Yeah, it is pretty cool, and it's really not too bad to apply. So if you're interested, check it out. And
how many years have you been running it now?
We as in me and Justin, Samsung Galaxy player who used to be a mod here. I think I joined in 2020, maybe. So 3 or 4 years. And he kind of took it over from some Zcash people or Zcash and Monero people had started it and they were going to abandon it. And he like took it over and he's really grown it a lot. Justin does a lot of the work. But one of the things that we do is give away these undergraduate scholarships, which I think is pretty cool. And especially this year, we tried to streamline the application so it's not too onerous for you lazy undergraduate students. So check it out. And with not any further ado, that's not what we're here to talk about. It's 9:02. We are here to discuss the results of my discussions with legalnodes about how to form an entity that can be responsible for operating kind of the business of the subreddit and custodying the funds that are now in the Moon distributor and other places on any like revenue that was flowing through the business operations. We're growing this operation with something of a shield, or at least a perceived shield with Reddit still involved. And when they left the picture, we decided to do a little CYA operation, I guess. I don't know if you have anything to add for background there, Nana.
Um, you're talking about just running the banner and whatnot.
Just in general, yeah, I mean, it's a huge saga, so I don't know how much background we really want to get into, but I mean,
Yeah.
Reddit ended their involvement, right? And so we felt the need to set up some kind of intermediary or responsible entity. People are asking in the comments for your face reveal. Um, so we've talked about it a lot in the meta
Yeah.
subreddit amongst ourselves. I mean, and we've now spent money and received legal advice, and it seems pretty clear that to me, Marshall Islands is the best option. Um, there's kind of two basic options that we have, where one is to form a DAO organization, and I think the only jurisdiction where that type of vehicle is available is the Marshall Islands and Wyoming, of all places. The problem with Wyoming is everybody can be a DAO member just by holding the tokens, but then you have reporting requirements to file, I think, a K1 tax form for all members of the LLC, which would be like all members of the DAO, which it's not practical or even possible for us to like send out tax forms to everyone who holds moons, right? So for the DAO, Marshall Islands doesn't have those reporting requirements, so they're an option. The other kind of general option is to form a foundation, which that is not to serve as a legal wrapper for the DAO, but really a special purpose vehicle to bridge the functions of the DAO with the off-chain world, is how it was put to me. And I mean, these foundations are maybe most well known for like the Ethereum Foundation in Switzerland. Um, the Swiss Foundation is very expensive to set up. It's like $50,000 you have to have in the bank, um, and these foundations don't really provide the same kind of legal foundation for DAO members having rights in the organization itself. They're kind of like caretakers more than DAO wrappers. So they're an option. I mean, it's an option that, they put forward for us to form a foundation in the Cayman Islands, or I think Panama, are both relatively cheap, like similar registration costs to the Marshall Islands, somewhere between $3,000 and $10,000. But they suggested that the Marshall Islands would be the way to go for us, um, for a couple of reasons. One is that we already have a very well distributed token, so it can be problematic if there's any single entity holding more than 10% of the total supply. And that's not the case for us, except for exchanges, I think, and I don't think they really count, right? So, um, what do we need to do to go from where we are right now to having MOON DAO LLC in the Marshall Islands? I think is what everyone wants to kind of know, probably. And I guess they also want to know what Nano looks like. But the pathway to get there is, it's not, doesn't seem too bad actually, because we have this really good distribution. It eases registration requirements, and it looks like we can probably have only a single founding member, and that founding member may not even have to be a person. It might be able to be an LLC itself. Um, and the distribution of the coin also is like, it eliminates personal tax implications for founding members. So it's really important that we don't have to worry about that. Um,
So
so
the
how do we?
founding members wouldn't have tax implications, but what about the foundation itself?
Well, that depends, I think, if we decide to be a for-profit or a nonprofit. Um, and that's something we need to decide really in the next few weeks, as we make a lot of decisions about how we're going to structure this thing. Um, so I guess if we decide to go to the Marshall Islands and make a DAO, what do we have to do? The first thing we have to do is write, well, it's not absolute requirement, but it's highly recommended that the first thing that we do is write a DAO constitution. This would reference whatever smart contracts we're going to use to operate our entity. Um, and it would describe the functions of the DAO, like, running the business operations and moderation of the subreddit, doing distributions to members. And I think we can speak in general terms. So, like, I think in the Constitution, we don't necessarily need to have specifics about how the distribution will be run, but I think we need to have all of the generalities, I guess. They actually, somebody just asked in the chat if there's any templates. Legalnodes is supposed to, I talked to them Friday morning, and then I sent them a couple more questions Friday afternoon, and I haven't heard back from them, but they owe us a report that they said that hopefully they'll give us by the end of next week, that should include a template for a DAO constitution, as well as some more information about registration and reporting requirements in the Marshall Islands. Um, so
Did you
once
ask them
we,
about taking like moons from banner rentals and events and whatnot, and either
yes,
giving them to LPs or putting it back into distribution?
back into distribution, I asked them specifically about, yes, and that's totally fine. I mean, that would be something that's like called out in the Constitution as a function of the DAO.
Okay.
One thing I didn't ask them about in the call, but I think I asked them in a follow up, or I'm going to, is I believe we have the option to be a nonprofit. So for a for-profit, there's a 3% tax on our revenue. So it's going to cost about $3,000 to $10,000 to set this thing up this year, and we have to pay Marshall Islands $5,000 a year, January 1st every year. And if we're a for-profit, we have to pay 3% revenue tax. MBEA thought it's possible it may be beneficial to be a for-profit anyway because there's probably lower reporting requirements.
Right.
And we're not a trustee for other people's money as we would be if we were a nonprofit. But that's
Yeah,
something I'm
and
going
it's
to
not
ask
hard to
them to
pay.
look into a bit.
It's not hard to pay 3% of the revenue either.
Yeah, and I actually, so I think if we are a nonprofit or a for-profit, we can do the distribution either way based on karma or other contributions to the subreddit. I mean, that would be a governance thing we could vote on. If we were a for-profit, I believe that we could like just take banner revenue and passively redistribute it to token holders, or something like that, right?
You mean in like the form of another token?
Or just like pay moons back out to moon holders or whatever.
Hmm.
Not that we
That's
want to do
interesting.
that, but I think that may be an option if we were for profit but not a nonprofit. So that's what I'm going to ask them about that to try and figure it out.
Gotcha.
Another thing that needs to go in the Constitution, though, is what constitutes membership. And typically in a DAO, I guess membership is just ownership of a token, right? We do have the option. I asked them, and we talked about it quite a bit, that we could say that membership is contingent upon earning and holding moons, not just holding moons. So we do still have the option to go that route. In my experience, talking to a lot of people in a lot of different groups over the last almost 6 months now, I guess 4.5 months, I don't know. I think generally the consensus is that all moon holders would be DAO members, i.e., one moon is one vote, and there's no more weighting according to how much you've earned or whatever. That's something we have to determine like ASAP for sure. So we need to have a series of votes to determine what constitutes membership, to really spell out what are going to be the operations of this organization, et cetera, et cetera. Like, because once we have the DAO constitution, that we can go and form a DAO LLC in the Marshall Islands. When we do that, we need to include articles of organization and a copy or whatever, or a link to the smart contracts which control our organization. And the articles of organization should like reference the DAO constitution. And this, for the smart contracts, they recommended DAO House, which is built on Moloch DAO, which is something that I had talked about in the past. These are like template DAOs that we can use for treasury and voting, and just fork the DAO House repo or whatever and make a Moon DAO set of smart contracts to submit to the Marshall Islands. But I mean, that's like something else that we really should probably vote on, have discussion about, and vote on. We really want to vote on everything every step of the way. I think it helps cover our ass legally.
So does that mean we need to migrate voting from Snapshot to this DAO platform, or through the other smart contracts that would be governing
Yeah,
the
at some
LLC?
point, maybe I guess, yeah, like once we decide on a framework that we're going to use for our DAO, it like then we should start voting within that framework, right? That makes sense,
Okay.
I think. I mean, I know you spend a lot of time on Snapshot and maybe
No,
that
no.
stuff.
I'm just wondering if submitting what we have would be sufficient, or if we have to create some other structure, because you see these other platforms like Aave and whatnot using Snapshot. So I'm
No,
not sure
Snapchat's
if
fine. No. Just voting, having people on the record voting, right? Either way, I guess on Snapchat, it's not really on chain, but it's still on record, right? Having people on record voting is the most important thing wherever it's happening. Like, if you call yourself a DAO, but like there's a one or a small group of people making decisions and executing those decisions without consulting the broader holders, right? Like, or members, you're not really a DAO. Like, I mean, and so like if you form this DAO LLC company and you operate like that, there may you may expose the people who are running the operations to legal liability, right? If they're like calling themselves a DAO but really running it as the CEO, that's not, the spirit of the business. So we want to vote on everything all the time. I mean, we want to include the community. Like, it should be a community decision as much as possible. Obviously, like, we can't vote on every last wording in every last sentence of everything, right? But I think it's important to have as much discussion and votes and getting people on the record as possible for sure. Um, it's certainly logistically simpler to have membership just based on holding, especially, I don't know, I mean, if we start having cross-chain stuff, I'm sure, I don't know, it can't be easier if you're throwing in the earned piece as well. Um, all right. I've been rambling on for like 20 minutes now. Let me see in my notes if there's anything else that I really want to talk about. Marshall entity allows all records kept internally, no reporting requirements. Like, emphasize that to me on the call. Um, we definitely in the Constitution need to discuss treasury management and spell that out, as well as operations. Thank you, Anonymous. Um, Nano does also have really nice hair. I can vouch for Nano's hair. Yeah, I don't think I have too much else here. Like, at this point, we're waiting for them to give us a report next week, but really, I think we've all kind of made up our minds that we're going to go this route. And basically, we need to decide if myself or MVEA is prepared at this point to do the incorporation ourselves, or if we want to pay legalnodes another $1,000 or $2,000 to take us through the next 1 to 2 months, and they would basically complete all of the incorporation for us. So we need to see what they say and then make up our mind about that as well. We have some other news as well about the subreddit and stuff. Did you have anything else you wanted to talk about on this like legal stuff, Nana? Nana went away. He's not on the call anymore. We have some other news. I don't know how much everything which of all the newses are public, and so I'm not totally sure what I should share. Oh, Nano just dropped off the call totally. Um, Maybe I should just end the show right now so I don't say anything that's supposed to be secret. Reveal it too soon. Um, I guess I think it's okay for me to share this news. We're gonna add Rick Rivera as a moderator. Oh, he's back. He's back, but I don't know if he's talking. We're gonna add Rick Rivera as a moderator. He's the person who developed the Conehead distribution and tipping bot for our Coneheads. And we had I had talked to him, and I was gonna try and run an instance of his bot myself, and it's a little, I don't want to call it spaghetti code, but we had to have like a little uh, Skype meeting or whatever, and he was walking me through the code, and I just asked him if he would be interested in doing it, and he said yes. So I think he's gonna join us in the next couple of days, and then so hopefully, yeah, I mean, it's possible that we could have tipping enabled in the subreddit in the next week or two. And we have an option to do, I think, some kind of distribution with that bot as well. I'm not sure if that's what we want to use long term for distributions, but it gives us something that we can use at least as a um, intermediary step. Yeah, and for bridging, I guess all the bridging stuff is public. Nano is like dropping in and out, and he's totally silent, so I don't know what's going on with him. But I'm pretty sure at least the bridging stuff is all public with I told Rick, I was like, we have this proposal system, and I suggested to him to do a proposal for some moons. We'll see. Uh, but he's super into Reddit. He's a big part of Debit. Some of the folks that we lost when Reddit rugged us were two of them were Cody type people, so it's definitely nice to be able to add somebody in that arena. Will the Stellar Bridge require moons for liquidity? I don't think so. There still seems to be a little bit of discussion about the technology or whatever the seller is going to use to make sure that it works with all of the exchanges, I think. But yeah, Stellar Bridge, we should be getting over to ARB1 in 17 days from now. I'm not going to say anything about Binance. Will the Binance listing happen before or after CZ goes to jail? TBD. Before or after BTC all-time high? Probably after, because I think that's going to happen like this week. I guess Nano's dead. Nano, are you not able to communicate with us anymore? Maybe. No. Okay. Well, I don't want to share any more news because I'm not sure what I'm allowed to share. I was hoping Nano would be more up to speed on everything, but I think that the main thing was we wanted to share the information about the Marshall Islands thing, and hopefully you guys know a little bit more now. I mean, there's not a whole lot to know. Like at this point, I need to go Google stuff about Marshall Islands DAO LLCs. So if you want to find out more info, that's like where I'm going and waiting for this report from legalnodes.com. But it seems like this is the route we're going, and it seems like I think I was saying most of the people I talked to wanted, voting rights to be. Hello, welcome.
JW.
Yes.
I'm back. Oh my gosh, finally.
I was just about to end the show, but
Oh,
then I started talking again, so that's fine.
that's perfect. I've been just
Uh,
like getting out and in over and over trying to get back. I've been talking this whole time, but I don't know what happened.
we could not hear you at all. At least I couldn't hear you at
Great.
all. But I was saying that for the DAO stuff, just in general, like we need to start having votes right away. They're going to give us this report at the end of the week, and then we need to vote on a lot of things to decide it. And it's weird to say, like, how do we even vote whether to decide membership is holders or holders plus earners? Like, do we have two votes and then like what the results are for holders and holders plus earners? I think even if the holders plus earners vote might vote to base membership only on holding, but it's kind of a conundrum about how to even vote for that. But we have to vote for it right away, and many other things to kind
I
of.
mean, with other
I,
governance protocols, they're not limiting, who can use the token to vote. They're just saying everybody that holds it can vote. So I think it's probably better to lean towards sticking with the precedent rather than trying to create some new framework that hasn't really been used before.
I mean, it's been used by us for the past 4 years or whatever,
I
but
guess, yeah. But without any formal or legal entity, just using Reddit as a shield.
yeah, and I think I mean it's more. I think it is more CYA to do it holding
Right.
plus earning. Like anytime that DAO organization, there's always the question of do the members have to do anything? Like, are they doing something for the organization? And then the organization can give them benefits, right? But if, especially in the United States, like if you give people tokens and they don't do anything and then they're getting benefits, it becomes like security-ish, right? And I know it's like a huge gray area and everyone hates Gary Gensler, deservedly so, but I think that's what it gets in, and that's why at least partially Reddit structured it like that, probably.
Right.
But now, yeah, I think for a variety of reasons, and for me, the biggest reason is just simplicity. Really, I think we should go to holders or members model for the DAO for sure. I told everyone about Rick Rivera while you were not here joining, and I mentioned the Seller Bridge is going live,
Nice. Yeah.
excuse me, in 17 days, I think. And I wasn't sure if they figured out all of the technical
Did
details.
someone ask if Seller was providing liquidity? I thought I heard that.
As somebody asked in the YouTube chat, yeah.
Yeah, it's a lock and mint model, so there's no liquidity to provide. It's not like
Okay.
a pooled model where there's tokens on both networks.
Okay. And that
It's
was
that
cool with
you're
all the
you're
exchanges and everything.
what was that?
That was okay with all the exchanges.
I'm not exactly sure whether or not the exchanges are going to support it at this point.
Okay.
We asked Kraken, and we're waiting to hear back.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm not exactly sure. I mean, I don't think it makes too much of a difference either way, given that the bridge is pretty quick. So if you did want to take moons on one and deposit them onto Kraken, you could use the bridge and then deposit on Nova. And then, that would be maybe a 5-10 minute procedure in terms of getting it sent off. So I don't think that's, too big of an issue. And then we don't have to worry about liquidity on either side. The bridge will always work in both directions because if you sent a token over to one, then when you want to send it back, it just unlocks the token that you sent to the contract on Nova.
Okay. Cool. Um, is there any other? I guess everyone saw the Poly Market AMA. That was pretty cool. I
Yeah.
don't know how many $10 they gave away, but that was nice of them. And yeah, just general status updates, I guess. I think the banner is booked out until June,
Yeah, June 1st.
and AMAs through April maybe.
Yeah.
And we might have a special AMA guest that no one would ever guess in March,
Yeah.
thanks to some old guy I know on Discord. We'll see if they show up, if they come through. Um, yeah, I kind of agree with Bernard Mac in the comments that we should just pay these guys another $1,000 or $2,000 rather than me or MBEA spending our time doing it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Especially with everything pumping. I was just thinking like now, yeah, we probably the ARB is, I don't know, maybe ARB isn't pumping too much, but we have some ETH and stuff as well. Shoot, I think I never finished making my comment about the scholarship application. I'll put it in now. Do you have anything else you want to mention, Nano?
No, nothing else.
Okay. Yeah, and we have a Million Moons community fund. I mean, well, we would like to use that for distribution or
Well, I
funding
mean, I guess
development
if we're able to
projects or
use if we're able to use moons from renters, then I mean we're going to be able to replenish a million
that's
moons
true.
relatively quickly.
Yeah, that's true as well. Well, we don't need to pay legalnodes $200,000 or whatever. We got some money lying around. Um, cool. Yeah, thank you everyone for listening, and please watch the Meta subreddit and participate in all of the votes that come up. And if you have ideas, like, I mean, take a look around for DAO constitution templates. If you have ideas about things we need to include for our specific situation, like please make a post on the Meta sub and try to bring attention to it. Because definitely the more votes and people we have involved, the more it really is a decentralized process, and we cover our ass in the process as well. So it's a win-win situation for everyone, hopefully. And yeah. And tomorrow night, I'm going to do a show with my friend Drew, Crypto Hydrate. We're going to have some of the guys from IttyBits talk about crypto punks and stuff, NFTs. And I think Wednesday, I'm going to do a show real quick with a guy from ETH Trader to talk about Reddit community coins like donuts and moons and stuff real quick. So we might have a couple more shows coming up this week. Thank you all for listening and have a good week. Later, Nano.
Later, take care.
Bye.